So, you have accidentally pressed your recording bind instead of your streaming bind? Because I just did. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Trials in the Sky the Third. Last time, we defeated Arachne Zigma and the Arachne sisters. Death to the Spoodermen. And this time, we're going to learn a bit more about Phantasma itself, and all of that cool stuff. I do have a couple saves in Chapter 6 already. That's because I was testing some stuff out before stream started. This is probably going to be slightly shorter, around an hour 20 minutes. I'm not going to get as much done, because I have somewhere I need to be very soon. Hopefully, though, it'll still be all fun nonetheless. And let's get into it. You've reached the Yamaro City Church. How may I help you?
Oh, is that you, Kevin? I didn't think you'd be there already, so I was just going to leave a message with the priest.
Oh, hey, Rufina. Yeah, I got here late this morning. How about you? When do you think you'll be getting here?
I'm going to be a little late, I'm afraid. There's been an accident or something, so the train's been delayed. I probably won't be getting there until this evening now.
Gotcha. I'll wait here till you arrive. I think Reese and the kids would get all bent out of shape if I showed up without you.
Oh, please. I'm sure you're just exaggerating. Although, speaking of Reese, I hope you've been thinking about how you're going to cheer her up.
Yeah, I got it all planned out. I've been stocking up on souvenirs from every mission I've been going on. Should be enough to snap her out of her funk.
I wouldn't be so sure if I were you. Girls her age are more complex than you think.
Yeah? I guess she's not really a kid anymore now that she's 13, but still. Actually, that's about how old you were when we first met, right?
Now that you mention it, it was. How time flies. Sorry, it looks like the train's about ready to leave. I'm going to have to go. I'll see you later then, alright? If you get bored of waiting, you're welcome to go on home ahead of me, of course.
Got it. See you later. Man, how time flies is right. Have I really not been home in 2 years? And I guess that makes 9 since I met Rufina. I hope Reese isn't too grumpy when we finally get there. Kevin! What is it, Father? Has something bad happened? Well, I've just received word that someone spotted a group of men dressed in all black at the edge of town. What's worse is, they were supposedly heading for the mountain path. You don't think? If they were, Asta House must be their target, I fear. Do you have any idea what could be going on? I wish I did. I doubt it's anything to do with the Gralsritter, at least. I think I should go and check it out, just in case. Please do. Oh, do you know when Rufina's going to be arriving, by the way? This evening, by the sound of it. She said her train's been delayed. When she arrives, can you let her know what happened? Damn it. Jaegers? Seems like there's anywhere between 5 and 10 of them. But what could they want with a gospel facility to begin with? The longer they're allowed to be in there, the more danger the kids are in. I'm gonna have to try and handle this alone. It's time to put my combat skills to good use. Chapter 6, The Guardian's Trials. That's trials, not trails. The A is before the I. Celeste? Wasn't that the name we saw in those data crystals? That's right. According to those, she was the de facto leader of the group of ancients who sealed away the Aureole. She was also the founder of the world's current royal family.
I'm glad to see the information I left behind ended up proving useful to someone. It really did. So then, you're really the founder of LaBelle's royal family? Not technically. I'm not the real Celeste d'Orsleys. Think of me as something of a shadow. Or a partial copy of her personality created in order to influence Phantasma from within. How can you only be a partial copy? The truth behind you is apparently more complicated than we thought. You don't appear to be a spirit of some kind, though. I see that now. That is correct. Before I try to explain just what I am, I should probably tell you more about the world we're in first. You can do that? This should be interesting. As you are aware, the land in which you stand is called Phantasma. This is a world belonging to a higher plane of existence, created several thousand years ago by the Aureole. Its purpose was to act as a subsystem for the Aureole, in order to incorporate and process the will of the Liber Arc's populace. One might call it a self-organized world designed to realize countless possible others as necessary. Pardon? You've lost me. Yeah, isn't there a simpler way to explain this? Well, while not technically correct, perhaps you could think of it this way. Phantasma is like a fictitious realm created by the Aureole in order to fulfill humanity's every wish and desire. That's better. What exactly qualifies Phantasma as fictitious? I can't help but think it far too real to be a land of pure fantasy. When I say fictitious world, I don't mean to suggest that Phantasma is a complete lie. It's more like a shadow graph or kaleidoscope. It has its own laws and can change to reflect countless different possibilities. Does this make the concept any easier for you to understand? Somewhat, yes.
And suddenly the name Phantasma seems that much more appropriate.
As I stated previously, it was a subsystem of the Aureole rather than being the Aureole itself, and it helped to grant people's desires. They were separate entities, but effectively like two sides of the same coin. The relationship caught our eye as we were devising the sealing mechanism. You mean the mechanism used to seal away the Aureole? That was also in those data crystals left behind. Exactly. At first, we thought our plan would be impossible to execute. After all, the Aureole had absolute control over space itself, and was able to influence mankind's every action. Even after coming up with the idea of temporarily freezing it and imprisoning it with a gravity barrier, we had no way to implement our plans. Without that, they were simply ideas with no real meaning. We were effectively at a total loss.
You had discovered your foe's weakness, but had no way to take advantage of it. That must have been quite the frustrating predicament.
Indeed. And yet our perseverance rewarded us with the development of something that could take advantage of that weakness. The Recluse Cube. Is this what this is known as, then? Yes. That is the only object in existence able to interact with Phantasma without relying on the Aureole as an intermediary. Celeste used that to create a partial copy of her personality, that is, me, inside Phantasma. And once inside, I began working to sabotage Phantasma's functionality by using this garden as my base of operations. As a result of my efforts, the Aureole's processing ability was hindered just long enough for the plan to be executed.
He who catches his foe off guard wins the battle. The same principle applies to martial arts, too.
It sounds like you really put a lot of thought into planning everything. Maybe, but I can't deny that luck played a part in the end. Once the Aureole was sealed away, my work was done, and I fell into a deep sleep here. My reason being that if the Aureole were ever unsealed, I might be able to provide assistance to the people of that time. I'm pleased you've been able to handle it just fine without my help, however. Luck's played a huge part for us too, though.
We're not even sure where the Aureole is now. As far as we're aware, it disappeared during all that happened at the Liber Arc.
I thought as much. I was able to confirm the Aureole's disappearance from here within Phantasma too. When I did so, I thought my purpose for existing was finally over, and that all that was left for me in this land was to embrace a slow and peaceful destruction. But that was not to be. Soon, the Lord of Phantasma appeared. Ah. So, that's when it happened. Quite a recent development, I see. The Lord of Phantasma appeared out of nowhere, stealing all of my power before I was even aware what happened. After doing so, they began to remake Phantasma in accordance to their own designs. Both this world's current structure and the planes that make it up were all the Lord of Phantasma's creations.
Looks like your theory was correct, Ren. Still, that makes it sound like... Yeah. So you don't know who that masked bastard is either, then?
I'm afraid not. Their every action thus far has been a mystery. Ordinarily, they should not have been able to gain access to this world in the first place. And I'm afraid I have no idea what they're trying to achieve by bringing all of you in here and testing you. Well, that's a shame. Yeah, that's the part we wanted to know most of all. I only wish I could be of more help. The only other thing I can say about them is that I expect the Lord of Phantasma is currently in the 7th plane. There's a 7th? What makes you think that? That was the first plane they created after appearing in this world. Just what kind of a plane that is, I don't know. But I can sense dark, inhuman thoughts from there, and they're spreading out across the whole of Phantasma. That doesn't sound good. Then we'll be seeing them after the next one, won't we?
Yeah, we just finished the 5th when we came back here. Presuming they're waiting for us on the 7th. The time to fight them head-on may not be that far off. I was getting tired of waiting. As was I. It seems the end may finally be in sight. Now, if only we had some sort of inkling as to what the Lord of Phantasma is trying to achieve. Actually, I just might.
Kevin? You're up!
It's good to see you again, Father. You too. I wasn't expecting you of all people to get an invitation here. Or you too, for that matter, little lady.
I'm sure you weren't. I've got something I want to ask you, but I suppose that can wait until later.
For sure.
Are you sure you're feeling alright?
Right as rain. I'm feeling just great. All that sleep must have done me a lot of good. And I see you guys made a whole lot of progress while I was out cold too.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Kevin Graham. Or maybe I don't need to introduce myself, since you seem to know a thing or two about everyone who's come in here so far.
True. I was able to tell what was happening at the Liber Arc from the garden. And out of all the people here, you are the one closer to the truth of what is happening here. Am I wrong? What?
No, I don't think you are. I can't pretend to be much of an expert on what Phantasma itself is. But I've got a pretty good idea as to who's responsible for all this. I can only think of one person twisted enough to put us through all we've been through.
Wait, is it someone you know?
You could say that, yeah. The short version is, they're a real piece of work. A cunning, arrogant, cold-hearted son of a bitch who doesn't even see people as people. That about sums up who we're dealing with.
Sounds like a real awful guy.
And who, may I ask, is it that you're talking about? Well, about that. Would you be willing to just wait a little bit longer for the answer to that one?
I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I'm still missing one last thing that'll let me be completely certain. And I think we'll find out just what that is on the 6th plane. Huh. And here I thought we were finally going to get an answer. Is there a reason you can't share your theory as is? Yeah, I realize I'm asking a lot after we've come so far. But I promise that as soon as I know for sure, I'll talk. I swear on the goddess's name and on the church's emblem. Well, I don't see any reason to say no.
Likewise, he's clearly got his reasons. It's not often you ask us for favors, so I can let it slide. No problem here. If he says wait, I'll wait.
I feel as though we can trust your judgment, Kevin. So I have no objections either.
Me neither. I don't really care as long as I get to have my fun. I believe we're all in agreement then.
Yup. Consider this one settled.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Anyway, now that I'm up, I'm also down to take the lead again. And I'd appreciate it if you back me up.
No problem. Seems like you're all ready to move on. While you're advancing through the 6th plane, I'll do all that I can on my end to find out more about the 7th. Of course, if you need my support, I'll be happy to provide it through the cube and the monuments, as I always have.
Now that you mention it, we haven't really thanked you for all the help you've given us since we got here, have we? Thanks, Celeste. We couldn't have done this without you.
We truly are in your debt. Please, think nothing of it. I am but a shadow, placed here with a duty to fulfill. I believe helping you to be a part of that duty. If I may, allow me to help you however I can.
Will do. Sorry for worrying you too, Reese. But I'm just fine now. So please, just leave everything to me. I'm begging you.
Only if you promise me one thing.
What is it?
I won't make you promise not to put yourself in danger, or to overdo it. But don't do anything that would make Rufina sad.
Ah, you really know how to hit a guy where it hurts, don't you?
So, will you promise?
Yeah, I promise. I swear on her name I won't. So, we have Kevin back in the main party. And for the first time in the game, you do not need to take Reese with you as a secondary party member. You can just have Kevin on his own, with any number of people you like. I'm not going to put too much thought into this, because I've, like I said earlier, done a bit of work off-screen. And this is the team I've come up with for tackling the optional content we have here today. We have Olivier, Zin, Annalise, and Kevin, obviously. So, if I can go over the ordnance setups real quick. Kevin comes equipped here with Onyx, Gold, Sapphire, Ruby, Topaz, and Wood Gems to give him access to a full suite of elemental arts. I have Cast 2 in his final slot because that's just where I think it's most valuable. As such, this does give him access to Zodiac, which will be quite handy for the events coming up today. We've also got Annalise here because she's going to be necessary for some content coming up soon. She's got an Evade 4, Yin Yang, Ruby Gem, Onyx Gem, Emerald Gem, Information, and Cast 2. Information is just so I can read off the stat blocks of enemies to you guys. Otherwise, I'd recommend having something better equipped on her, because information's really not all that important. As for Zin, he has the Topaz Gem, Water Gem, Silver Gem, Onyx Gem, Cast 2, Petrify, and a Gold Gem. The Gold Gem being on this line gives him access to Earthwall and La Crest, which are both very important. And then Olivier, who you could replace with Ren if you wanted to, has Silver Gem, Water Gem, Onyx Gem, Cast 2, Ingenuity 2, Absorb, and Evade 4. I chose to give him Evade 4 because I thought that would be best for his setup. Of course, you can, if you have the quartz, come over here and synthesize something else. I'd either recommend getting a wind gem, or if you really need the space and Mirage Sepith, a wood gem. I also think that the wood gem works very well on Olivier as well, because he has a lot of very large range crafts, like Quick Draw 2, and that can come in very clutch sometimes against large hordes of enemies. I think I could get rid of Absorb and he'd still have... Yeah, he would. Nice. Okay. Could put a gold gem on him if I wanted to, but I think the silver gem is good enough. Because the silver gem, in conjunction with Ingenuity 2, just gives him a metric boatload of EP regeneration. So the gold gem halving EP costs really isn't necessary, because you're never going to run out in fights. Of course, there's also stuff like range that could be useful. But most arts are usually high enough range that you don't need to worry about it. Can give him Mind 4 if you want him to do more damage. Yeah, go on. I'll make a Sapphire Gem. Put that in place of the Water Gem instead. And then a Topaz Gem there to buff out his physical bulk. I like putting Topaz Gems on the Arts Casters, just because it makes them a little less physically frail. I think everybody's setups here are all good to go. As for the equipment, Kevin has the Solar Seal and the Skull Pendant, and Lace has the Destiny Card and Feather Brooch, just because we're trying to maximize her agility. Zin has the Tiger Seal and the Tiger Heart and the Lunar Seal, sorry. And Olivier has 2 Crimson Eyes because his arts attack is crazy. Right. So, back onto what we're doing here today. We have... Oh, wait, no. My mistake. We need to go somewhere else first. You want to head down to the bookshelves, as per usual. All of Dull Knight is on the bookshelf. Just want to go through Dull Knight. It is a little bit longer to get through because it has 2 separate sections of books. But it's not so bad. Now we're going on to 6. And then a 7. I'm just counting out loud so I don't lose track of where I am. Lest I have to redo stuff. I think I might have missed 8, so I'm just going to reread over that. And 10, 11, and 12 and finale. Oh, God. There's so many more chapters. Oh. It's nice that this game brings the books into some of the doors, like Sundoor 4 being Gambler Jack themed is very cool. For the people who want like a visual for the people they see in those books, it's neat. Is it ultimately necessary? Probably not, but it's neat. And I got the Destiny card out of the Gambler Jack one, so who am I to complain, right? Go to 19, 20, 21. Very entertaining content, I know. I probably should have gotten this out of the way before I started streaming, but whatever. It's fine. But Doll Knight does bring mention to the 13 factories. There we go. There's the achievement. Which is for reading all the books. Now, there is an extra thing. I understood the gist of what Celeste was saying, but that doesn't really explain why there are all these books here. Especially so many of them. Something's not clicking with me. Oh, look at this weird one. A weird one? What's it called? From Fat to Fit. By Gilbert Stein. These bookcases really are weird. There are a number of interesting books here. So there's Kitty Talk for Dummies, Woodpecker, which I believe we already went through both of them, but I'm just doing it to be safe. Hertz's Adventure, 1 and 2. 31 Cypress Trees. And then there's also From Fat to Fit, written by Gilbert Stein. Well, this guy's, dedicated. Yeah, let's go with that. And then you will get an achievement if you're playing the Steam version called Please Erase My Memories. From Fat to Fit. Back away slowly. I don't think there's any new recipes you can get from the recipe book, but I could be wrong. Also, already read all of Carnelia. So there's no need to worry about any of that. I don't think. Let me check. Nope, we are AO good. Just want to get all those books and achievements out of the way. I don't think there's any food we need to buy. Aww. I don't want to necessarily spoil all of the character interactions, but I will have a look at the ones that I deem worth. I've got lots of plushies. My room's full of them. I wish I could show you them. So then I decided to give him a name. I raised a cat once before too, you know. The professor called him a steel cougar, if I recall. That doesn't sound like a kind of cat I'm thinking of. All these nice little interactions. and weird little flip-flops. I don't think Celeste has anything important to say on the current situation. If you do have Zin in your party, though, and speak to Agate...
Zin told me something pretty cool earlier. He says this place is perfect for martial arts training. I might not be in the same combat style as him, but I'm not going to say no to a chance to get stronger. Say, you want to join me for some sparring later, Zin? Sure thing.
Yes, that's right. He introduced himself as this land of Phantasma's foremost guardian. Joshua? By the sounds of it, you've probably encountered him more times than I have, but...
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to make sure that I'm prepared.
My little pal, the Schwarzritter. Anyway, once you've seen all the scenes you care to see, can check your equipment. So, while I was doing off-screen grinding, if I can show you the monster guide, I was fighting the Doppel enemies. Now you'll notice I did manage to get a Pendragon from Doppel Agate. I tried for about 4 hours before this stream started, but I couldn't get any of the other weapons. But I got damn close. I got pretty much every accessory from the ones I didn't get, except for Doppel Tita, because she just didn't spawn as much. But none of them were immune to instant death or confusion, so that's how I beat them. Very quickly, I'm not going to be using any sword user for this, so I'm not going to get any use out of Pendragon just yet. But Pendragon is one of the semi-ultimate weapon style weapons you can obtain from the Grimoires, where it'll be slightly better than the weapons that you can obtain at this moment. But it does get outclassed by the ultimate weapons at the end of the game. But you need Zemurian ore for those, and that's not in infinite supply. It's complicated, to say the least. Anyway, onto the actual content of the stream now that I'm done waffling. I'm going to go to Sundoor 3. Want to check my tactics very quickly, just make sure everybody's in the right position. Kevin also has a Gorgon Arrow now, because I obviously did a bit of grinding off-stream before we started. Just to get everybody in this group up to level 119, which is about where everybody was before the end of the Luminous Labyrinth. I forgot what the name of it was for a second. We are completely prepared, then we shall be off. I do recommend doing this now if you've been stalling doing Sundoor this whole time. You can either do this or Moondoor 7, I think it was, or 5. One of them. But today's going to be quite focused on Annalise, because we're going to need to use her for some stuff in Chapter 6. So, skipping past the introductions here, because we've already seen them. you're going to want to start off by using Taunt with Zin. And then I'm going to use the Fragrant Juice that I got on him. Just give him a bit of a defense boost. And within this specific setup, we actually do have access to a little bit of a cheese strategy. So what we're going to do is clock up EX, and we're going to move Zin into the back corner. Then we're going to use Whirlwind Dance with Annalise to pull all of the enemies onto her. Now, because they're taunted, they're all going to start running towards Zin. Who I can then Thunder God kick the large swarm of them on. Going to Terror Sphere. One of the few times you'll actually see me use it. I don't need to Whirlwind Dance just yet. Then we'll Pedal Dance with Annalise to get a damage up. So, the idea behind this strategy is that Zin will sit in the corner and bait the enemies to walk towards him, while you can pummel the majority of the enemies with AoE damage from other people's arts or crafts. This makes this first step a lot easier than it would be otherwise, because without any movement bonuses, if you hit them with Petrosphere, these guys all only have one move. So it's literally impossible for them to catch up to Zin if he's sitting in that corner. And as long as you're doing about as much damage as I am here, you probably are going to be able to kill all of the enemies before they can kill you. If Zin ever gets injured, you can use Tyrol on himself to heal him, because your EP will regenerate between rounds, your CP will not. So you basically want to minimize your CP usage and rely purely on EP. Gonna drag all of them in. So even though there is a large group of them, they can't really do all that much to Zin. Gonna use the Sacrifice Arrow to give Annalise her CP back, because we're gonna need 100 CP before the start of the next fight. And then Zin can stay in the corner. Still, Zin perfectly fine to just sit there. And we can just pop down an Atlas Hammer. Should hit everyone, I think, except for that guy who just walked out. That's fine, because we have Meteor Fall. And then Zin is all good to just walk up and slap this guy silly. Bop. And with that, you basically have pretty much a free setup for the next fight. Now, this is the fight where it gets a little bit scary, if you're not prepared. But fortunately, Kevin has Gorgon Arrow, so I don't care. So, Gorgon Arrow is something Kevin learns at level 117, and it is a line attack that petrifies enemies hit by it. Whichever of the creepy sheepies that you have more of a problem with, if it's the pink sheep or the black sheep, you can just pick one you don't like and zap it. I'm going to go for the black creepy sheep right there. And that petrification basically guarantees that it's going to get hit. Then we're going to taunt the majority of those. Now what? I think I'm going to clock up the external ace. Because Zin is going to be taking most of the heat for the moment. I'm going to Latte roll just to make sure he's healed, because that crit's going to hurt. And if you'll notice, the enemies on Zin have all lined up in a way that lets Kevin hit a majority of them. Gonna have Zin Supreme Composure himself. Want to hit those two sheep. There we go. The one very bad thing that can happen is that you get slept by all of them, and then you're basically screwed. But Sacred Breath 2 can alleviate that problem a bit, because it cures all status effects. Can do a Thunder God Kick. Instantly killing that creepy sheepy. And we'll give Olivier the speed boost, so he can start spamming some powerful arts. Just gonna go for a Death Scream, because these guys aren't immune to instant death. So we can... boop! Got one of them, and we killed all the paralyzed targets. And now we can move Zin forward a bit. Let's tear everybody up. And we can go for Death Scream again, because there's no punishment. Just want to punch. And then if everybody on your team has full CP, you are good to continue. If not, you can stall on the last creepy sheepy. And use Sacrifice Arrow with Kevin to restore everybody's CP. But with those enemies out of the way, now comes the actual hard part. Our final teams. And we have the Ouroboros affiliated Team Gilbert. Clown on this man. Immediately. So, the issue with Gilbert is that his Giapachi and Spindles all have very strong AoE attacks that can hit you for up to 5,000 damage. So, you want to get your team Zodiac'd up. Specifically, you need to be careful for the Bullet Barrage and the Smoke Grenades hitting your squishy targets. And at the start of the fight, there is a chance that Gilbert will just elect to say, no, you die. He's elected to say, no, you die. So, this charge attack hits like an actual ton of bricks. The best method for avoiding damage here is Earth Wall, which is what I'm doing. Or you can instead take advantage of the long delay that the attack has and just move out the way of Gilbert. The annoying thing about this is that the Spindle, AoE attacks will more often than not wipe out your guard and then you'll get hit anyway. Just like that. If the attack hits you, it inflicts 15% defense down, I'm pretty sure. Which can make survival after the fact kind of like a pipe dream. That's where my strategy here comes into play. I'm going to 200% Grail Sphere with Kevin to get 2 shields. And then start clock up EXing the rest of my party. You'll notice now that Annalise has her dodge chance up. Most of these hits are going to start missing her, which is kind of what you want to go for. Because once she has her attack all the way up, true 8-leaf Blitz. Around 3,000 damage for a normal attack is pretty damn good. As for what I'm going to have Zin do, he's going to give Kevin his clock up EX, because Kevin still needs one. And then I will Sacred Breath to cure everybody's status effects. And from this point on, the fight now becomes keeping everybody alive and hoping that the Geoparchy doesn't do too many more of its dangerous attacks. And Annalise is going to say, "You're done a lot." So get used to that, I guess. Gonna La Tyrol because I can. And now Annalise can pretty much solo that Spindle. So I'm gonna send Zin to do that one. You basically want to make sure that only one person's getting hit by each of the Spindle's attacks, otherwise they're going to weigh you down too fast. Annalise has only just lost the first part of Grail Sphere, which is why she is so good in this fight. She can just dodge tank anything with the Destiny card, and it's nuts. Does a ridiculous amount of damage, and just does not die. Zin doesn't really need to do much else other than punch the Spindle once he's fully buffed. He's basically a buff bot and tank. Sometimes the game will just elect to say no and target someone else anyway. There's not much you can do in those instances though, just have to work through it. I don't remember if Gilbert's Geoparchy is vulnerable to clock down, but it shouldn't really matter too much at this point, because you should just be dealing enough damage to overpower it. Okay, my stream died there for a second. I had a frickin' panic attack. Oi, oi, oi. Like I was saying, just overpower the Geoparchy, and you should be fine. That is the best strategy to win. Just beat it down. And then, with the team comp I have, you have the capability to heal with basically everyone. So you'll never be in too much danger of dying. provided that you can tank hits. This is pretty good luck, though, with the one Geoparchy going after Annalise instead of everyone else. And with any luck, that Geoparchy up there should be toast. Oh, not Geoparchy, Spindle. My bad. As for the strategy now, you still want to have your arts casters on the sides, but you can bring Zin and I almost called her Josette, Annalise in towards the boss and just have them go ham. So critical mode is his super special awesome attack, and it just gives him an arts defense and strength buff. If he does do this, you aren't too screwed. Assuming that he is vulnerable to delay. I'm gonna check before I say anything. Oh no, he is. Alright. Yeah, this fight's over. Just slap him silly. Because he can't really stop you. As mean as that is to say. Basically nothing you can do. Spam blue impact with your arts casters, because it's just that good. If you have access to... Where is it? Napalm Breath, or whatever the one above it is. I don't remember the name of it. It requires 12 Fire Sepith, though. If you have either of those, just use those, and you'll be fine. Gilbert's delay on this attack is so slow, you can just move out the way. Especially if you slow his speed down, it's pretty much free. And he's done. And for your reward, you get the Fool's Emblem. And we conquer the normal arena. You get the physical quartz and 5,000 mirror. And we now earn the right to challenge the hard arena. Won't be going over the hard arena today, but all you require now is the Fool's Emblem. You no longer need Zin in your party to tackle any of that. He's still useful. I'd still recommend using him, just because he's bulky and Taunt has a lot of versatility. At least in the next arena. In the Nightmare arena, not so much. As for the reward, let me load up my post-save from earlier. You want to give your Fool's Emblem to Annalise here, because that gives her 96 agility, which is freaking crazy. And then I think I removed the Feather Brooch. I was debating on putting it with Olivier, but I decided against it in the end, because Double Crimson Eye is just a little bit too broken. But those are probably quite easy to beat fights now that you've had a bit of experience with the game at this point. And Gorgon Arrow can kind of trivialize the second set of enemies just because they're not immune to the death. Anyway, the Fool's Emblem itself gives you about 50 defense, minus 10 arts attack, minus 10 arts defense, plus 20 speed. I think that is somewhere in that region. Might be 25. Then gives you minus 10 dex. Minus, no, sorry, it gives you 20 agility, and it gives you 2 move. Paired with the Destiny card, you don't have any status immunities, but you do have a very high dodge chance and base speed, which means you will be getting your turn before a lot of the enemies do, and if that's happening, you're probably fine. So, the final thing that I want to do for this stream, because it's going to be a rather short one, like I said, we are going to head down to the Stardoor 5. Now, Stardoor 5 is very difficult, depending on what point you want to tackle it. I'm going to do it now, and I may not succeed, because it's quite a difficult set of fights, but know that the reward for succeeding is worth it. You can just open that door. Shall grant to you a memory fragment and my blessing. Interesting. Wow, that's a surprise.
Release!
Oh, the Gran.
Something the matter? It's not like you to walk right up to the second floor without even looking at the board and sit quietly like this. You're not feeling sick from eating too much ice cream or something, are you?
Don't be silly. I'm not a kid anymore, you know.
Could have fooled me. I swear that you were the one who ate 3 full scoops first thing one morning and later had to go get some stomach medicine from Spence. Maybe my memory's playing tricks on me.
Let's all pretend that never happened, okay? Besides, that was back when I was a junior bracer. That was forever ago. I learned my lesson after that, I swear. Now I never have more than 1 scoop each morning.
You're not supposed to have ice cream in the morning at all, you know. Well, no matter. So, what have you been doing up here all this time anyway?
Oh, right. Well, you see, I got a letter from my pappy, who lives a long way away this morning.
Really now? He's a swordsman, if I recall, isn't he?
Yep, he's an instructor. He's real famous among sword practitioners, actually. Yunka 5, the 8 Leaves 1 Blade School.
All the Coltsfield fans going mental. Ah, yeah, that's the one. I was familiar with the name even before meeting you, but I was quite surprised to find out that you were his granddaughter. Didn't he used to live here in LaBelle?
I'm surprised you know about that. I can't say I have any memories of when he was here, though. It was around when I was born, so how could I?
That long ago, I see. So, how's he doing? Well?
Judging by his letter, yeah, he's doing fine. I haven't had the chance to meet him in person for about a year now. Last time we had the chance to spar, I felt like he was totally babying me, even though he's like 70.
He really must be skilled to be treating an active bracer that way.
Huh? What's with the sudden serious face?
No, it's nothing all that major. I've just been wondering for a while.
Why do you stay here when you could join him? Sorry, I'm lost. Well, it's just that you're aiming to improve your swordsmanship, aren't you? Feels like if you have a grandfather like that, the fastest way to do that would be to go with him and polish your skills at his side. That's... well... I suppose it's not my place to be telling you what may or may not be best for you. Sorry, Annalise, you needn't pay any attention to an old man like me. No, that's not true at all. I really appreciate your advice, so please, don't think it's not your place to give it. I can definitely see where you're coming from on this. I do have my reasons for being here and all, they're just a little difficult to explain. Oh? I do want to learn more about swordsmanship and swords in general. So in that sense, you're right, that continuing to train under Pappy would be both best and fastest course of action. But that's not all I want to do with my life. I want at least as much, if not more, to know more about what it means to become a bracer. I guess it's a case of me wanting to learn more about swordsmanship as a bracer rather than as a swordsman, if that makes sense. Am I even doing a good job of explaining this? No, I think I see where you're coming from now, actually. Besides, Pappy once told me that he taught me all of the technical side of swordsmanship, forms, crafts, and that kind of stuff already. Whether I can master them or not is all down to me now. So in that sense, I feel like there's no specific need for me to train under him nowadays. Of course, whether I'm really advancing in my swordsmanship now is another issue entirely. I wish I could say for sure I was, but... I see. What's with the silent treatment all of a sudden? Oh, it's nothing. You're just not really one for these kinds of serious discussions, so I was impressed to see you were even capable of them. Hey, I am so capable! Besides, you were the one who kind of pushed me into talking about all this stuff first. I'm glad I did it too. Anyway, getting back to that point. What did the letter even say anyway? Oh, right. Well, surprising as it is, it says that I should go and see Cassius Bright. Cassius? The one and only? Yep, that's right. Supposedly, Pappy was invited by the Royal Army to be a guest instructor at some point a long time ago. That's where he trained Cassius too. And so ever since then, they've had this kind of student-master relationship with one another. Cassius even went out of his way to go and see him 10 years ago when he decided to stop using a sword too. 10 years ago? That would put that around when he left the army and became a bracer then. What exactly prompted him to tell you to go visit Cassius now, though? Well, I guess he only just recently found out that Cassius has returned to the army. So now he's wondering whether he might take this opportunity to take up the sword again. I gotcha. He wants you to go and ask for him. And let him know what he says, yeah. I see. People really do end up connected in the strangest places in the funniest of ways. Tell me about it. Anyway, that being said, I kind of have a favor to ask. You want time off, I assume? Well, who am I to say no? You've got good cause to have it. I can even get in touch with the army and set up a meeting with Cassius if you want. Really? Really. Go along and get that truth your grandfather wants for him. But in return... In return? I want you to take care of every single one of the monster extermination quests on the board first. Every single one? Aren't there like 5 of them right now? Sure, but monsters in this area will be no trouble at all for you as you are now. It'd be less of a problem if Grant were around, but I had to lend him to the guild over in Rouen, and he's still not back. You're gonna have to pick up the slack here in his place, especially if you want time off. Okay. God, my throat is in shambles right now. 3 days later. Leiston. I'm finally here. Right on time, too. Okay, let's go bug Cassius.
Can I help you?
Well, I'm Annalise Elfeed, a bracer with the guild. I've come to meet with Brigadier General Bright.
Ah, I see. I believe we've been expecting you. I'll pass on that you've arrived then. You might have to wait a little while before you can meet with the General, though, I'm afraid.
Huh? But I'm right on time. Did something throw a schedule off?
Something must have. I can't pretend to know much more than you do. But the General is a very busy man, so it's not at all unusual for things like this to happen. Anyway, like I said, I'll pass on that you've arrived. But I'm gonna have to ask you to wait out here for a while.
Sure, no problem. This is taking ages. I hope the meeting isn't going to end up getting cancelled or something. I really don't want to have to come all this way for nothing. I suppose if I can't meet with Cassius, I could at least go shopping in Gransel. They should probably be getting the new lineup of stuffed toys around now. I wonder which one I should get. Maybe the bear? Or a crocodile once in a while would be nice.
Excuse me, young lady. The General can meet with you now.
Really?
Good day, sir. Thank you. And you must be Annalise, I assume.
Yes, I am.
Welcome to Leyston Fortress. The General is waiting. Please follow me.
Oh, thank goodness. I seriously thought I was going to have to go home without getting to see him.
I'm terribly sorry for the wait. Well, please follow me.
You got it, sir.
I brought your visitor, sir. Very good. You may return to your duties. Thank you, sir. I'm really sorry about the delay there, Annalise.
Oh, don't be. I'm more thankful you took the time out of your busy schedule to speak with me at all.
This is the least I could do for someone from my old line of work. It's been a while since we last met, though, hasn't it? You've become a seasoned veteran before I knew it.
I'd certainly like to think I have. I can't have Estelle soar ahead of me while she's abroad, can I? This is just what rivals do.
Huh, so they do. I'll be looking forward to seeing just how much stronger the two of you can become.
You won't be disappointed.
Getting to the point, I was pleased to hear that old Master Carfi is still in good health. I believe it was because of him that you came here today.
Yes, that's right. I didn't realize you were an acquaintance of his before this.
I certainly am. In short, he's the man who taught me the way of the sword. That was over 20 years ago by this point. The first time we met was when I was back at the military academy, so I studied it under him. I still remember the harsh training sessions he gave here at Leyston like they were yesterday.
Really? Is there any special reason you didn't say you knew him before? You knew I was his granddaughter, didn't you?
I did. By the time I first met you, I had long given up the path of the sword. It, didn't feel appropriate in my eyes to act as if I was a student of his in light of that.
Oh, gotcha.
I haven't seen him in about 20 years, 10 years, I think. I don't know why I said 20. Dementia! He does write to me on occasion, but how is he these days? Does he still have that same old vim and vigor?
Yep, he really doesn't act his age at all. Still, if you'll let me get right to the point, the reason I came here is to continue the discussion he had with you 10 years ago.
Oh?
To tell you the truth, Pappy still laments the fact that you left the path of the sword. That was why when he wrote to me when he heard you'd returned to the army. He wondered whether you returning to the military may mean you're also ready to pick up a sword again. So, this is it. He'd like to know directly from you how you feel.
I see. Well, it's a great honor that after so many years he still cares so much about an inexperienced and utterly lacking swordsman like me. And yet I'm afraid my answer is that I still have no intention of taking up a blade again.
Can I ask you why?
You certainly can, but I'm not sure how to put my answer.
This has always been on my mind, too. I've always wondered what would prompt someone so skilled with a sword that they gained the title of Divine Blade to leave it all behind. And I don't mean to make light of your skill with your staff or say it's inferior. Nothing like that. It's just hard to wrap my head around why you did what you did. And there's a little part of me that can't accept it either. Especially now that you've returned to the army. Why can't you return to being a swordsman? Unless you believe that the staff is stronger than the sword after all.
No, not at all. I just believe a staff to be a more fitting weapon for me as I am now. Staves are a symbol of protection, which are used more for keeping enemies at bay than cleaving through them.
You say that as if all swords are good for cutting and killing. That's not true. I fight because I want to protect things just like you do. As a swordsman, as a bracer, and as myself. Are you telling me the swordsmanship Peppy taught me isn't going to let me do that? I'm sorry. I didn't ask for you to take time out of your day so I could come and shout at you. But I can't accept what you're saying. Up until all of what happened here in LeBeau, I'd never felt any doubts that swordsmanship was the right path for me. In the end, all of what happened just served to remind me of how powerless I really am. And now, I feel like no matter how hard I try, I'll always be a rookie. I'll never be strong enough to do what I want to do.
Now I see. Perhaps this is fate. I see Master Carfai hasn't changed one bit. He's the same firecracker he always was.
What do you mean?
I'm afraid as I am now, I'm not able to answer the questions you're asking me. But I know someone else who can.
What's he planning to do out here? Really want to know who he called, too.
Ah, there you are. Are you all ready to begin? Indeed I am. I never expected to have to wear this uniform again, though, especially not so soon. I'd almost think you enjoyed messing with people. I'm not doing it to bully you. You know as well as I do that your usual work clothes aren't well suited for this kind of thing.
You're Colonel Richard!
I realize this may sound a little silly coming from a man wearing this uniform, but I'm no longer a colonel, young lady.
Sorry. So, Mr. Richard then? Or Alan?
You can call me whatever you wish, though no need for the Mr. Meanwhile, I believe you are Annalise, a senior bracer with the guild.
You know me?
I'm not the former commander of the intelligence division for nothing. I know all about the bracers of this country.
I see. But how did you end up being here?
Actually, Richard was who I was meeting just before I spoke to you.
Really?
In short, I've decided to start up a new research company as a civilian. So, while I may not be a part of the army anymore, I can definitely see myself continuing to need to work with it in the future. So, I decided to come here in order to discuss the matter with Cassius in the hopes of maintaining a good relationship between us in the future.
Oh, I get it now. Wait, is the person you mentioned earlier?
That's right. I want the two of you to fight one another.
Wait a second. This is all a bit sudden, isn't it? Especially if I'm going to be fighting the famous Colonel Richard.
Is that so? You don't want to know the answer to the question you asked me earlier, then? I believe any doubts you have towards swordsmanship can only be dispelled through using it. Focus not on whether you win or lose, but on pouring all you have into the battle,
and you should find the answers you seek. Alright then. I'm not sure I'll make much of an opponent, but I'll do what I can. It's not every day one has the chance to test their skills against a relative of the Eight Leaves School's founder. I'm eager to see what you can do. Begin! Right. Richard is an absolute bugger of a fight. You want to begin the fight by readying a Tyrol, because he will begin with Afterglow Smasher, his S-Craft. In the event that you get hit by Afterglow Smasher without having a Tyrol charged on the turn before it hits you, you are probably already dead. I'm going to use a Sweet Crepe to increase my speed. Fallen Leaves is very useful because it allows you to get the kind of jump on Richard. I'm going to use Tira to heal myself. And then I'm going to Sylphan Guard. You basically want to buffer the turns so that you get your Sylphan Guard before Richard gets a chance to use his attack on you. He has an extremely low delay on all of his crafts, so if he does get a chance to hit you, you're probably boned. Fallen Leaves won't be enough of a delay. So I'm just going to use a Tyrol to heal back to full. You're going to need to have a Pedal Dance up to be able to beat him. Unfortunately, having a Pedal Dance up does mean that you won't have the HP to tank any hits from him. Which is the really sucky thing about this whole fight. Is that if you're not careful, he will just one-bomb you, and the fight's over then and there. I'm going to Tyrol just to make sure I'm full. EP charge 1 is fine. Go for another Fallen Leaves. And I lose. Damn it. I think. Yeah, I'm screwed. Because there's no way he misses me full odds. Yep. The Richard fight is just very hard. Wow. I should have known I'd stand no chance. I'm amazed by just how well you did fight, though. Alright, the victory is decided. Sheathe your blades. So, Annalise, how did his swordsmanship appear to you? Well, he fights using the Eight Leaves School's 5th form, Morning Moon. He made a few changes to the standard form, but it's largely a style based around sword drawing techniques. Well, okay. I noticed a bit more than just technical details like that. What did you notice? One thing I realized while fighting him. Richard swings his sword as if perfectly synchronized to my breathing. The second I go on the offensive, he reacts without fail. In that sense, it feels like his swordsmanship is much more defensive than offensive, I suppose. But defensive stance matches perfectly with the form he uses in combat, and the result is very natural, very powerful swordsmanship. Oh. What I can't work out is why you're so focused on fighting defensively to begin with. I mean, I assume it's because you want to protect something, but what?
Annalise?
Yes?
I wield a sword for one single reason. That reason is to protect this country.
Oh.
Everyone has at least something that they wish to protect in this world. Perhaps that is a person, such as their family or loved ones. Perhaps it is a belief or ideology that they hold dear. And, just as things we seek to protect are different, so too are the ways we choose to do it. In my case, the way I choose to protect what I care about just happens to perfectly suit the defensive swordsmanship you noticed. Although, I can only imagine how comical it must sound to hear a criminal who threatened this nation talk about wanting to protect it.
Well, not really.
Richard, you... Please, don't say anything, General. Her Majesty may have chosen to pardon me for what I did, but that doesn't make those crimes simply disappear. Still, just as your desire to protect LeBeau remained even after leaving the army, I can't completely turn my back on mine. It was so that I could do so that I resolved to leave the army even.
It was?
You see, Annalise, to me, one's position in life is just a means to an end, a way in which to achieve whatever you wish to do. I think that's true for one's choice of weapon as well. Wouldn't you agree?
Well...
What's important isn't what weapon you choose, but what you use it to do, what inspires you to take it up and use it to fight. The reason I chose to put my sword aside and take up the staff is those feelings had changed. That is all. So, Annalise, any more thoughts?
I should just use my sword in the way that best fits me to do what I want. And that's what you're trying to say, right?
Sure is. You beat me to it. You're Master Carfai's granddaughter, all right. Very quick to catch on to things.
I'm just as quick at forgetting things too, though. But I finally get where you're coming from.
Really? I'm happy to hear that. Could I ask you to pass my answer on to Master Carfai, then?
Consider it done. I'm sure he'll understand.
I feel I've learned a lot today from having the opportunity to face off against you. I do hope I'll have the chance again one day.
So do I.
You'll both have to make sure you don't neglect your training, then.
Of course. I wouldn't dream of giving it any less than 100%.
Really? Sounds like it was quite the fruitful experience.
It sure was. I'm guessing this was Pappy's plan all along. He knew exactly what would happen if I went to ask Cassius what I did, and that's why he asked. I must have sounded a little unsure of myself in that last letter I wrote him.
I see. Like master, like pupil. Incidentally, while I hate to spring this on you before you've had a chance to settle back in, a lot of work built up while you were away. There's even a request from the mayor, too, so I really need you to get right on it all. If anything, you should be grateful. All this work will give you a chance to refine your skills with that new mindset of yours, won't it?
That's one way of looking at it, sure. So, Pappy, while I bet you knew all along, it looks like Cassius has no intentions of taking up the way of the sword ever again. But, thanks to seeing him, I ended up being given a chance to re-examine my own swordsmanship. Up until now, I thought it was all about getting stronger or faster, things like that. But now I finally realized what's far more important than either of those things is why you take up your sword in the first place. Your feelings. I feel like now, I finally understand why I was never able to defeat you, no matter how many times we fought. I might not be the best student in the world, But I'll keep giving my training all I've got. Love, and a lace. Side story swordsmanship finished, and you will get 5,000 mirror the first time you complete it. Now, to get the best possible reward, you do have to win. So, we're going to jump straight back in. Unfortunately, you do have to sit through all of the dialogue every time you reattempt the Richard fight. And Richard's fight is particularly difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He is a particularly nasty bugger. But you do want to win, because if you do, you get the sword Jinu for Analyse, and it is dum-dum powerful. Like, dum-dum strong. You can basically take on Stardoor 5 whenever you want, but I'd always recommend beating it before you manage to get into Chapter 6, or Plane 6, sorry. Because you do need to use Analyse for Plane 6, like I said. So the rest of this stream is basically just going to be me attempting Richard. Pretty much. Still, the fight is very much worth the reward. It is just a difficult fight. You do kind of have to get lucky as well, because it requires you to dodge enough of Richard's attacks that you can actually mount a counteroffensive. There are a couple different approaches you can take to the fight, though. For example, here, instead, I'm going to clock up EX, and just hope that he doesn't kill me. Nope, he does. Cool! Thanks, Richard! But yes, Richard is a very bloody difficult fight. I don't really enjoy retrying him all the time, but you know, it is what it is. It takes about 2 minutes, if you fail, to get back to the actual fight with Richard himself. And the slow-scrolling text of Annalise writing her letter to Yonkar Fai does not help matters. So, we're just going to be slamming our head into the brick wall that is Richard for a brief period of time. Because it's important. You can still get a sword that is not as powerful as Jinu, but still strong, by beating Doppel Analyses in the 6th section of... the 6th plane in Phantasma, sorry. If I could be consistent with my wording, that would help. I'll probably give it 1 or 2 more tries on stream and then sign off. And just do it off stream. The dialogue obviously does change a bit if you win, but, you know, it's nothing so unbelievably major that you'd die, you know, without seeing it. And then I believe I will have to head off soon. Boo-hoo. I'll still be back here on Thursday, though. I mean, I'd speak a bit more, but there's not really much to add that I haven't already said, other than wah, Richard, difficult, boo-hoo. But still... Did he just get his turn before me? You tool. You jerky jerk face. I'm just gonna pray and hope that I don't get punished. Okay, nice. Gonna Fallen Leaves him. And then clock down. Need to EP charge. Thank God I get my turn before he does. Pedal dance. Leaves, and then I will Tyrrell just for help. Because it needs to be safe. I can Fall and Leave again. And again. And again. Need to EP charge 2 there. Clock down, just to stop him from beating my ass. And I'll go for an 8-leaf blitz. Gotta go for as many blitzes as possible. Beat myself back up. Luminous Divider is going to hurt a lot. I thought I was screwed for a second. Oh no, now I am screwed. Gonna Fallen Leaves there for some extra damage. Sword Poke, and then S-Craft, and this should be it. Nice. So, if you're lucky and you can get your clock ups and clock downs on Richard, you see that the fight is beatable, but it's very, very close. You need to get him down to at least 3000 HP if you have a pedal dance active. If not, you need to get him down to 2000. Holy crap, I did it! Well, it looks like my skills still have a lot of room for improvement. Alright, the victor is decided. Sheathe your blades. So, Annalise, how did his swordsmanship appear to you? Well, he fights using the Eight-Leaf School's 5th form, Morning Moon. He made a few changes to standard form, but it's largely a style based around sword-drawing techniques. Well, okay, I noticed a bit more than just technical details like that. What did you notice? One thing I realized while fighting him. Richard swings his sword as if perfectly synchronized to my breathing. The second I go on the offensive, he reacts without fail. In that sense, it feels like its swordsmanship is much more defensive than offensive, I suppose. The defensive stance matches perfectly with the form he uses in combat, and the result is very natural, very powerful swordsmanship. Oh. What I can't work out is why you're so focused on fighting defensively to begin with. I mean, I assume it's because you want to protect something, but what? Annalise? Yes? I wield a sword for but one single reason. That reason is to protect this country. Oh! Everyone has at least something that they wish to protect in this world. Perhaps that is a person, such as their family or loved ones. Perhaps it is a belief or ideology that they hold dear. And just as the things we seek to protect are different, so too are the ways we choose to do it. In my case, the way I choose to protect what I care about just happens to perfectly suit the defensive swordsmanship you noticed. Although, I can only imagine how comical it must sound to hear a criminal who threatened this nation while talking about wanting to protect it. Well, not really. Richard, you... Please, don't say anything, General. Her Majesty may have chosen to pardon me for what I did, but that doesn't make those crimes simply disappear. Still, just as your desire to protect Le Beurre remained even after leaving the army, I can't completely turn my back on mine. It was so that I could do so that I resolved to leave the army, even. It was? You see, Annalise, to me, one's position in life is just a means to an end, a way in which to achieve whatever you wish to do. I think that's true for one's choice of weapon as well, wouldn't you agree? Well? What's important isn't what weapon you choose, but what you use it to do, what inspires you to take it up and use it to fight. The reason I chose to put my sword aside and take up a staff is those feelings had changed. That is all. So, Annalise, any more thoughts? I should just use my sword in the way that best fits me to do what I want. And that's what you're trying to say, right? Sure is. You beat me to it. You're Master Carfai's granddaughter, all right. Very quick to catch on to things. I'm just as quick at forgetting things too, though. But I finally get where you're coming from. Really? I'm happy to hear that. Could I ask you to pass my answer on to Master Carfai, then? Consider it done. I'm sure he'll understand. Then again, would you be opposed, Richard? Not at all. I've already inherited the way of the sword itself from you. It's only right that someone else should inherit that. What are you talking about? Well, that's settled. Would you accept this, Annalise? Cassius handed Annalise the Jinyu. What's this? It's a blade I once used myself. I think it would be much happier in the hands of an active practitioner of swordsmanship than in my own at this point. Wait a second. I couldn't possibly accept this. Surely if anyone should be taking this off you, it should be Richard. Perhaps on the surface. But how things are on the surface is not always what's most important. I thought you had just learned that fact. I'm not sure the lessons I learned earlier have anything to do with this. There's no need to think so seriously about this, Annalise. All you need to do is take up this blade and use it to do what you want to do in the way you choose to do it. That's all anyone expects of you. To do what I want to do in the way I choose to do it. Well, if you insist, I'd be happy to accept it. I feel I've learned a lot today from having the opportunity to face off against you. I do hope I'll have the chance again one day. So do I. You'll both have to make sure you don't neglect your training, then. Of course. I wouldn't dream of giving any less than 100%. And I believe that's all that changes. Really? It sounds like it was quite the fruitful experience. It sure was. I'm guessing this was Pappy's plan all along. He knew exactly what would happen if I went to ask Cassius what I did, and that's why he asked. I must have sounded a little unsure of myself in the last letter I wrote him. I see. Like master, like pupil. Incidentally, while I hate to spring this on you before you even had a chance to settle back in, a lot of work built up while you were away. There's even a request from the mayor, too. So, I really need you to get right on it all. If anything, you should be grateful. All this work will give you a chance to refine your skills with that new mindset of yours, won't it? That's one way of looking at it, sure. So, Pappy? Well, I bet you knew all along. It looks like Cassius has no intentions of taking up the way of the sword ever again. But, thanks to seeing him, I ended up being given a chance to re-examine my own swordsmanship. Up until now, I thought it was all about getting stronger or faster. Things like that. But now I've finally realized what's far more important than either of those things is why you take up the sword in the first place. Your feelings. I feel like now I finally understand why I was never able to defeat you, no matter how many times we fought. I might not be the best student in the world, but I'll keep giving my training all I've got. Love, Annalise. P.S. I have a super cool sword now. Yeah! Received Genu. So, the Jinyu. Plus 1000 strength, plus 50 arts attack and defense, plus 25 dex, plus 5 agility, plus 5 speed. Positive in all stats except for defense, movement, and range. An old blade for training that once belonged to Cassius. Hell yes! If you come and do the Richard fight at the earliest point you possibly can, which is immediately after Balstar Channel, this sword will hard carry you up until Chapter 6. It is crazy. You also want to pick up Jinyu anyway, because you're going to need it for the Nightmare mode of the Sundoor Arena. Because that has a power-up for Jinyu if you beat the Nightmare Arena while having Annalise in your party. So, now that we have acquired quite the powerful sword for Annalise, I feel like now is a good time to end stream, now that we have a party prepared for the next chapter. So, thanks you all for coming by and checking out the stream. All of your likes and comments and things are appreciated. If you have any questions, of course, you can always leave a comment on the stream after the fact. I'll always be able to read them. For now, at least. And, well, that all said, hope you guys stay safe, and I will see you all next time on Thursday for more Trails in the Sky the 3rd. Ta-ta!